Every time you hit the road, the choices you make can make the difference between making it home safe or not at all. That's why today we're unpacking the essentials of driver safety and how they apply to you. Here's what's on our roadmap: fatigue management, collision awareness, firearms and weapons, driver attire, housekeeping, vehicle safety, rest stop safety, inspections and repairs, and motorcycle awareness. To drive safely, you've got to be sharp and alert. But here's the problem: fatigue is everywhere. Long shifts, irregular schedules, early mornings, stress, and the pressure to perform all take a toll, leaving you fatigued, and that exhaustion can follow you behind the wheel. Fatigue can also be caused by being awake for long hours, lack of sleep from either one night or multiple nights, the time of day, long periods of inactivity, and health factors, sleep disorders, and medications that may cause drowsiness. When you experience fatigue, it produces unsafe surroundings. Everyone who drives for a living or spends most of their workday in a vehicle is more at risk of hazards when experiencing fatigue while driving. Some of these hazards could include exhaustion, an extreme state of fatigue, hard time concentrating or feeling confused, nodding or dozing off, drifting into different lanes or oncoming traffic, forgetting the last few miles driven, and slow reactions to changing road conditions, other drivers, pedestrians, street signs and lights, and more. No one should be operating a vehicle, especially a company vehicle, while fatigued. Doing so greatly increases the risk of collisions, injuries to yourself or others, damage to vehicles, and even harm to public property. If your alertness is impaired, you should never get behind the wheel or be asked to drive. Both workers and employers share responsibility for safety. Driver fatigue can be prevented when both sides take action, starting with these steps. For an employer, you can implement policies that set overtime limits and maximum allowable consecutive shifts, provide employees with training in sleep, health, and fatigue management, allow for rest breaks and naps during extended shifts, and review data from vehicle monitoring systems to detect signs of possible fatigue episodes. For workers, get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Pull over, drink a caffeinated beverage, or take a nap for 15 to 30 minutes if you feel fatigued while driving. And report instances of fatigue in yourself or others. Worker fatigue is very common and can be very dangerous when behind the wheel. Employers and their employees must ensure they have had enough sleep and have taken the necessary precautions needed to prevent a fatigue episode. Across every industry, motor vehicles are a leading cause of death, and collisions, they can be anything from a small scrape to a serious life-threatening event. Workers need to understand these risks every time they get behind the wheel. The industry term collision is specifically defined as an accident involving a motor vehicle which is driven by an employee on company business time that can result in injuries, property damage, or death. These are the steps that need to be followed if a collision occurs. Safely pull off the road and immediately turn the vehicle off, call for medical care, display reflective triangles, and secure the scene in accordance with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. Complete accident procedures, fill out the accident report, and report the accident to your supervisor immediately. And be sure to take photos and/or video records of the scene. Include all vehicles involved in the collision, gather witness names and information, and provide a valid driver's license, registration for the vehicle, and insurance. Minor collisions can look like accidents that do not result in fatalities, collisions that do not require medical care or emergency services, or fender benders. Take note that even minor collisions can still involve the local police department. Major collisions can look like any of the following: damages that exceed $30,000, any emergency medical care or treatment away from the scene, or fatalities. Collisions can be prevented by following safe driving procedures and obeying traffic laws. To reduce the risk, always stay alert to your surroundings and the condition of your vehicle. Make sure your vehicle is safe to drive before hitting the road, and stay calm if an accident occurs or a vehicle becomes uncontrollable. This can help minimize damage and injury. Collisions are considered non-preventable if the driver applied the correct and appropriate defensive driving techniques, maintained control of the vehicle, and took all the correct precautions to avoid a collision. Collisions are a serious risk every time you drive. While not every crash can be prevented, staying alert, keeping control, and following the rules gives you the best chance to avoid one. Firearms and other weapons at work are a serious topic for many. Like all things, there are pros and cons to carrying a firearm or a weapon at work. Firearms and weapons are dangerous but can be used to protect someone's well-being. Firearms and weapons can include, but are not limited to, any type of gun, explosives, knives, and any other objects that could cause harm. Each state has different laws and regulations in regards to carrying a firearm or weapon at work. It is crucial that you check with the state and federal laws as well as your employer about carrying any any firearm or weapon at work. The Second Amendment does not guarantee the right for public or private employees to carry a firearm at work. Always check before bringing a firearm or weapon to your job or inside a company vehicle. You should never assume it's allowed. Failing to follow state and federal laws as well as your employer's rules can lead to serious consequences. Bringing a firearm or weapon into a work area or company vehicle can lead to dangerous situations. You never know what someone is capable of, and adding a weapon into the mix can increase the risk of a situation. Some dangers that can result in the presence of a weapon include threats or threatening conduct, aggressive or violent acts, accidental or intentional usage of the weapon, or major injuries or the death of yourself or others. If federal, state, and the employer allow weapons to be carried onto a work site or in a company vehicle, there can be advantages to carrying such items. In the event you must use a weapon, you can do so in the following: protecting yourself against outside hazards, defending yourself if danger is present, and protecting other people in need. Some companies have a dress code while on duty, and it's not just about looking professional. The right clothing can also keep you safe. If your workplace provides a uniform or shirt with a logo, make sure you wear it as directed by your employer or supervisor. You may also need gloves, eye protection, reflective vests, or other safety gear when doing hazardous tasks. Avoid jewelry, rings, watches, chains, or anything that could get caught while working. High visibility clothing is a must in high traffic areas when inspecting or repairing vehicles or during roadside breakdowns or collisions. Take note that if any vehicle fuels or fluids, cleaning solvents or products, chemicals, or gas spills occur on your clothing, you should immediately wipe the product off and change your clothing. You may be required to wear safety shoes while driving or while performing hazardous tasks. Some appropriate footwear that you can wear include lace-up shoes, heavy boots, steel-toed boots, non-slip boots, or approved overshoes for extreme weather conditions. Always check with your employer for their recommendations or requirements for footwear. Personal protective equipment, also referred to as PPE, is always required to reduce the risk of injuries or accidents when hazards are present. Some PPE to consider would be gloves, eye protection, face shields, high visibility clothing, safety shoes, hard hats, and more. You can also wear heavy coats, jackets, protective footwear, and other warm clothing during cold weather conditions. These PPE can protect you from hypothermia and frostbite. Always check with your employer on the regulations and requirements for driver's dress attire. Eye protection should be worn when performing hazardous tasks or when securing tarps and other materials to the vehicle. They should also be worn to prevent the possibility of eye injuries. Additionally, if you normally wear glasses, getting prescription safety glasses is always the best idea, though these types of safety glasses are not paid for or supplied by your employer. To avoid scalping injuries, tie back long hair when working near or on moving machines or vehicle parts. It is crucial to keep up with vehicle cleanliness and maintenance. Housekeeping procedures for vehicles can include electrical equipment, hazardous materials, tire and wheel safety, fire safety, and spill containments. These procedures are crucial as they help ensure the vehicle is in good working conditions. Any electrical equipment on your vehicle, including tools and extension cords, needs to be properly maintained. Make sure all equipment has a 3-pronged grounding plug or is internally grounded. For other safety measures, you can report any electrical equipment that is visibly defective to your supervisors, take the defective equipment out of service until it is correctly replaced or repaired, and notify your supervisor of any electrical system issues that include electric cord damage, damage to switch or outlet covers, and other electrical damage. Hazardous materials, or hazmat, are typically any materials that are hazardous or contain hazardous substances, such as lead, silica dust, mercury, and many more. Only if approved, no placard hazmat vehicles should be allowed to enter a maintenance shop unless the vehicle has been properly cleaned and is free from hazardous materials and vapors. To ensure tires and wheels are working properly, you can check the pressure of tires daily, only operate a vehicle when the tires are inflated properly, check the wheel lug nuts for tightness daily, ensure there is no sign or presence of oil or wheel seal problems, never climb onto tires or wheels, and be made aware that tires may only be inflated in a tire cage. A fire extinguisher and fire protection equipment should always be in the vehicle, ready for any situation, and you should know the location of both. Some helpful fire safety tips to remember would include having a fire extinguisher that is fully charged, securely mounted, and visibly labeled inside the vehicle, asking your employer or supervisor to show you the correct use of the fire protection equipment, never have anything stacked, stored, or pushed against a fire extinguisher, and understand that most vehicle fires are caused by issues with electrical connections. Spills are classified as any hazardous materials, chemicals or chemical-containing products, hazardous waste, and/or petroleum products that have been released accidentally. Whoever witnesses or notices a spill first must act immediately, doing what they can to control the spill to reduce any chance of accidents. If a spill occurs in the vehicle, you must safely pull off and turn the ignition off immediately. Shut off the crossover line valve and use a container to catch the spill. The goal is to reduce the chances of hazardous spills reaching waterways, groundwater, storm sewers, and soil. Your vehicle is only as safe as the driver behind the wheel. That means mastering the basics, starting with safety and parking it like a pro. Some helpful tips to follow would be: never start a vehicle if employees are not seated properly in the vehicle or the driver's seat. Vehicles with manual transmissions must be in the neutral position with the parking brake on. Automatic transmission vehicles must be in park or neutral position with the parking brake on. Steering wheels must be left in a position where the tires are straight. Wheel chocks can be used for initial safety under the steering axle tires, and the keys must be removed after parking the vehicle. Having the knowledge and an understanding of cruise control is important for the driver to know. Cruise control should never be set or turned on unless you are driving on a rural interstate, limited access freeway, or a highway that has clear visibility. Do not use cruise control on hills, curvy roads, or in wet or snowy weather conditions. If you are experiencing a fatigue episode, do not engage the cruise control feature. It is important to note that even when the cruise control feature is used, you must still pay attention to the road and be prepared for sudden or emergency braking. Both the driver and any passengers must wear a seatbelt when the vehicle is in motion. With that in mind, anyone in the vehicle must be in a seat equipped with a proper working seatbelt. Sitting in areas that are not considered a seat or are not equipped with a seatbelt is prohibited. Any employee, passenger, relative, customer, or animal who is unauthorized is prohibited inside the vehicle. Any passenger riding in the vehicle must have a written approval available with the company name prior to transportation. All mobile phones, tablets, or laptops must be put away in a secure spot that cannot be accessible while the vehicle is in motion. Distracted driving can lead to consequences as well as collisions. Employers will expect all employees to abide by state, federal, and local laws. Radar or laser detectors are prohibited from being used in a vehicle that is owned, leased, or rented by a company. Large trucks are prohibited from making U-turns, as this exposes the vehicle and pedestrians to risks. When reversing, always check your surroundings for overhead hazards, trees, pedestrians, and buildings. Park in areas where the vehicle can pull forward, use four-way flashers while backing up, check the clearance behind the truck, and if using a spotter, keep them in sight. Rest stops are very common for anyone driving long distances or in need of a short break. Although rest stops seem great, they can be dangerous. The most dangerous time to go to a rest stop is at nighttime. There is a higher risk for potential dangers, and we must be aware of these dangers. It can be inevitable to avoid stopping during the night. Some dangers you might face include petty theft, armed robbery or muggings, carjackings, or, at the worst of it, homicides. When going to rest stops, try to follow these safety tips. Avoid going to rest stops after midnight. Park the vehicle in a well-lit area close to the building. If traveling with a passenger, go into the rest stop with each other. Do not leave anyone alone. Lock the vehicle and keep the keys in hand. When approaching the vehicle, keep your eyes out for suspicious activity or potential threats. Check the vehicle prior to departing, and avoid sleeping in the parking lot of rest stops. When going into rest stops, the vehicle must be locked safely. Some steps to safely leave the vehicle unattended include properly parking, turning the engine off, setting the brakes, and removing the keys. Never leave a vehicle running while unattended. Never leave the keys inside the vehicle. Ensure the vehicle is fully locked. Ensure cargo or materials are secured. And do not park in poorly lit areas away from the building. Inspections and vehicle repairs are important, as this helps maintain good working conditions. Inspections must be done before and after a trip. During the pre-inspection, which must be done before the vehicle can even travel, you should check that the pre-trip inspection follows the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, also referred to as FMCSR. Check the previous driver vehicle inspection reports, or the DVIRs, to make sure any reported defects have been addressed and the vehicle is safe to operate, and perform a 360-degree walk around of the vehicle and the surroundings of where the vehicle is parked. Take note of any defects or noticeable issues with the vehicle. Ensure there are no pipes, buckets, equipment materials, or pedestrians around the vehicle before the vehicle is allowed to move. If the pre-inspection determines the vehicle could cause accidents, breakdowns, or result in an out-of-service order, the vehicle must not be allowed to operate. The Compliance, Safety, and Accountability, referred to as CSA, is a data-driven safety compliance and enforcement program for the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, also called FMCSA. All drivers must confirm compliance with the CSA items below: a valid commercial driver's license, or a CDL, valid CDL endorsements for the vehicle operated, current and present permits, annual inspection stickers, and the inspection report that is current and legible, insurance certificate is present and current, the lease or copy of the lease agreement certification available in the vehicle, and the company name, Department of Transportation number, unit number, and fuel decals must be visible. When completing a post-trip inspection, always confirm that the Driver Vehicle Inspection Report, or DVIR, is used if defects are found during the inspection. On a DVIR with noted defects, you'll need to record key details including vehicle information, carrier name, location number, driver's name, date and start time of the workday, and mileage at the end of the day. A full 360-degree walk-around of the vehicle is also required. During this, note and report any defects, issues, or hazards to your supervisor. The walk-around also ensures the vehicle isn't parked on or near materials and that it can safely move without creating hazards or running anything over. The FMCSR requires motor carriers to repair any DVIR-listed items that affect safe operation. If repairs are needed, you must discuss them with your employer and the repair shop to make sure there's a clear understanding of what needs to be fixed. Picture this. You're driving along and suddenly a motorcycle zips past you out of nowhere. They're fast, hard to spot, and can blend right into traffic. That's exactly why motorcycle awareness is so important for drivers. Whether driving a small car, big truck, or a vehicle towing a trailer, there's always a potential to collide with motorcycles. Some dangers are blind spots, lane switching, making big turns, or crashing into motorcycles when they slow down. To protect yourself and motorcyclists, you can check your mirrors and over your shoulder before switching lanes, maintain a safe distance as motorcycles can brake suddenly without activating their brake lights, and pay attention to turn signals or hand signals given by motorcyclists to determine their next move. If a motorcyclist is hit, immediately pull over. If the person is lying on the ground and not moving, do not attempt to move them or take off their helmet if they are wearing one. If they are not wearing a helmet, do not move their head or neck. Calling 911 should be your first action, and then perform CPR if the person is not breathing, and report the incident to your supervisor. Remember, safe driving isn't just about following the rules, it's about making sure you and everyone around you get home safe at the end of the day. Stay alert and avoid distractions. I'm Brooklyn with JJ Safety. Thanks for watching.